So these are just a few clips from a trip I took in June of 2020 from Beaufort, South Carolina to Rockland, Maine, which is about 1,200 miles or so if you take the offshore route. And my old AT hiking buddy, Bo Jangles, came along. He's down below in all these clips, but we set sail for the Gulf Stream, had a perfect forecast for southerly winds, and we rode it to Sparrow's record 24-hour run of 214 miles. And that was helped greatly, obviously, by the Gulf Stream, which was running really fast, and just having all the wind. But our setup, as far as sails went, is what you're seeing right now, just a mainsail. Sometimes it was the first reef, sometimes it was the full mainsail, but on this boat with the wind vane and everything, I found that heading straight downwind, all I need is that mainsail. Now, I do have a preventer line on there that's running from the very tip of the boom all the way up to the bow and then back to a winch. And that kind of helps just keep the boom right in its place and keeps the sail as full as possible, rather than without it, the boom would raise up a little bit and the sail would get a lot of twist and be rubbing like crazy on those shrouds. That's a pretty heavy duty mainsail, so she can lean up against those shrouds and it won't really do much damage. And that's actually the mainsail that I took around the world on the Sailing into Oblivion trip. But I've also got my check stay on. That's just helping a little more support for the mast. But I retrofit this boat with 2 backstays, and so she is really, really built tough. But one of the nice parts about sailing straight with the wind is that you can crank back like I am right there. There's not a lot of water getting on the deck, and the only real problem I ever come into is just the motion of the rolling boat. As you can see there, that rolling from one side right across to the other, it can get pretty annoying, but like many things out at sea, you just have to sort of get used to it. But right there is my favorite position to be on a nice day out in the open ocean, just standing on the cushions and staring at the empty horizon all around me. That kind of sailing right there is really, really my favorite, because we're moving fast, we're making the miles, and it's actually pretty easy because we're just using the mainsail. There's not a lot of stuff you have to do if the winds start to go and get a little stronger, or if they get a little less. You can still put in the reef and take out a reef while you're going straight downwind. Can be a little trickier, but it's not too bad. But there's the real star of the show. That's Mongo, my Aries wind vane. Now this one's an actual new one. It was purchased new from the shop over in somewhere in the Netherlands. But I got that for the Sailing into Oblivion trip. And you can see the wind blade up in the air. As that one tilts back and forth, that's going to pivot the hydro blade that's in the water, and that sends it from side to side. And that's all connected directly to the tiller, which then in turn controls the boat. And it's a little tricky to sail and get everything tuned in just right for dead downwind sailing. But once you do, Mongo just takes off. And I think Mongo's only been responsible, and by that I mean I was responsible, for maybe 4 or 5 uncontrolled jibes in all the time I've been sailing her. And Mongo's done about 50 or 60,000 sea miles, so that's not a bad record right there. And it's such an overbuilt wind vane. There really isn't a whole lot that's going to break. It doesn't have very many parts, and all it needs is a little bit of oil every day, and then she's nice and happy. That little green line that you see there, those are the control lines to be able to adjust the angle of that wind blade. And you just give those a couple of clicks one way or the other, and that'll turn the boat a few degrees this way or that way, and that's all you need. You can also see the sun just peeking out behind my solar panel, and that's actually the second one. Sparrow doesn't need her engine at all. She's totally independent of all that. But we're cruising down these waves, and this is just another little vantage point. And it really is. It's spectacular when you get to sail like this for as long as we did. I mean, it was amazing to see just over 200 miles in 24 hours on this boat. It was a proud moment for me, for sure. And we had some pretty bad weather once we got up to George's Bank and around Cape Cod. Totally becalmed in the Gulf of Maine as usual, and then we ended up pulling in after 9 days at sea. So it was a really good trip, and basically powered almost entirely just by that mainsail. So that's Downwind Sailing and Mighty Sparrow. Thanks for watching.